Hi, it's Sherry. Welcome back to my channel, Canterbury Cottage. Well, it's beginning to look a little like spring here in the Midwest. So today I have some super cute spring home decor ideas for you. In fact, I have 10 projects using only items from Dollar Tree or the thrift store. So super cheap, but the end product doesn't look super cheap. In fact, I think they look adorable, like something that you would purchase at Hobby Lobby or Kirkland's. Before we get started, for those of you that have asked, it does not cost anything to subscribe to my channel. If you press the subscribe button, it merely means that you will get a notification every time I upload a new video. So if that's something that interests you, I hope you'll subscribe today. All right, let's get started. Okay, this first project is super easy. I took an old paint can that I had purchased at a garage sale full of nails, and I gave it a good cleaning. I took a faucet that I had purchased at a thrift store and gave it a good cleaning as well. And then I mixed up some 2-part epoxy, applied it to the back of the faucet, and attached the faucet to the can. It cures in 4 to 6 hours, and then you have a really super cute planter. I had thought about putting a real plant in it, but decided just to stage it with some faux plants and let the new owner do whatever they wanted with it. For the next project, I purchased some wood beads and pearls at the Dollar Tree. I strung them up using florist wire to create a carrot shape. I use florist wire because it's easier to thread and it actually holds the beads together better than twine. I might have spray painted the beads if I had had orange spray paint, but I didn't. And so I used some orange chalk paint and it worked just fine. You just have to rotate the beads and put on a couple coats to get full coverage. Once the paint was dry, I took some fake greenery and cut it down to create the little sprouts coming out of the carrots. I used hot glue to hold it in place. Another easy way to create a wood carrot is to take the spring out of a clothespin and flip it around. Use a little wood glue to hold the two pieces together. It's probably not necessary, but you might want to wrap it with some painter's tape for 15 or 20 minutes. Then it's ready to paint. I decided to drill some holes in the top for the greenery. This time I used some raffia that I had cut into small strips. I twisted it together and used a drop of hot glue to hold it in place. You can buy raffia at Dollar Tree or any place that sells crafts. I thought these little Dollar Tree buckets were the perfect size to hold my carrots. I removed the handles and spray painted those black. I then used Mod Podge to decoupage the little pots with old book pages and sheet music. Once you have the pot completely covered, you'll want to go back over it with another coat of Mod Podge. This protects it and holds everything in place. When it was dry, I reattached the little metal handles, and then I was ready to fill them with carrots and some Spanish moss. You can buy small bags of Spanish moss at Dollar Tree. As a finishing touch, I ripped up some raffia to create a bow for the basket. The Dollar Tree carrots are cute, but they can look cheap because you can sometimes see the styrofoam showing through. To remedy that, I took some orange embroidery floss and twisted it around the carrot. I used one little dot of hot glue at the top and the bottom to hold it in place. Not only did it fill in the bare spots, but it also gave it a two-tone color. To create a container for the carrots, I recycled a couple old cans by painting them with 2 coats of Waverly white chalk paint. When the paint was dry, I distressed it with some sandpaper. I then printed out some carrot labels on regular copy paper. You can buy labels cheaply on Etsy, or you can sometimes find them free online. The Graphics Fairy is a really good source for free vintage printables. I attached the labels using Mod Podge to the back of the paper. Once the label is dry, you can then go over the top of it with another coat of Mod Podge to seal and protect it. I stuffed the bottom of the can with a piece of tissue paper and then topped it off with a fake straw from Dollar Tree. And then I added some bows because why not? I love using books as accessories, and they are very cheap at any thrift store. I got a whole grocery sack full of paperbacks for $5. For this project, I ripped off the front, back, and edge covers of 3 different sized paperback books. I then measured so that I could print out an Easter image on a piece of paper. This vintage hair image is a free printable on the Graphics Fairy website. I used Mod Podge to adhere the image across all 3 books. I let it dry for a little while, and then I came back and cleaned up the edges. I then carefully sliced between each book. I also cleaned up those edges a little bit after separating the books. I then tied the books together using some lace and twine and inserted a couple stems of fake lavender. Old birdhouses are pretty easy to find at any thrift store. This one had definitely seen better days. I decided to paint the body of the house with 2 coats of chalk paint, but I left the white chippy paint of the roof. When the paint was dry, I lightly distressed with medium grit sandpaper. I don't normally buy fake flowers at Dollar Tree because, quite honestly, I think they look super cheap. But they did have some cute kind of frosted looking spring flowers the last time I was there, and so I thought I'd give them a try. I cut them apart and hot glued them into the hole in the roof. I wasn't loving the metal flower, and so I cut it off and replaced it with a burlap flower that I had taken off something else. For this birdhouse, I painted the body and the metal adornment with 2 coats of white chalk paint. I painted the roof a grayish color of paint called mineral. To make the birdhouse a little more special, I created a pedestal using a wood square and an old candlestick. I painted these in 2 coats of chalk paint as well. I drilled a large hole in the center of the roof, and then I cut apart the Dollar Tree spring flowers, inserted them, and adhered them with some hot glue. And of course, I added a gingham bow. I drew lines from corner to corner to find the center on the base of the birdhouse. I then applied wood glue to the candlestick and adhered the birdhouse. Wood glue is super strong once it is fully dry. I think this thrifted rabbit was someone else's failed DIY. I spray painted it blue and then applied white wax using a wax brush to get into all of the crevices. I followed up with a rag to wipe off the excess wax. Although I was happy with the way that it looked, I had been wanting to try something different. I had a fuzzy Swiffer-like mop head that I purchased at Dollar Tree, which I cut down to make smaller. This was quite messy. Once I got it trimmed to the size that I wanted, I wrapped it around the bunny like a fur stole, and then I finished it off with a brooch. I had collected several different types of spring napkins that I wanted to use to decoupage a variety of items. If you want more information on how to decoupage, be sure to check out my previous video on the DIY 10 home decor thrift flips. First, I decoupaged some cardboard berry baskets that I picked up at a local thrift store for $1 or $2. Then I decoupaged a ceramic bird that I picked up for $1 at a thrift store. And for the final project, I carefully cut out the rabbit on a napkin and decoupaged that to a ceramic egg. The bird and the egg were both spray painted white before the decoupaging began. The napkins are so thin that the color of the item will show through, so for most items you'll want to paint them white first. Well, if you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Until next Tuesday, bye-bye for now.